Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Faheem, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Faheem.
Welcome to the Lightning Strike. Our whole team is here. Mike Patino, Dr. Sheila White, Chris Hilbert, Ray Hanania is joining us today with his guest, Mohammed Jaber. And we'll be having some lightning strikes early in the morning on Sundays as usual. Happy Mother's Day to all our listeners. And we'll be posting this back on our website and our YouTube channel later on so that you can go back and listen and view the show. Let's wait and see if we can connect with WCPT. And as soon as we connect, we'll be live on the WCPT website and on the radio locally over here in the Chicagoland area. Okay, we still seem to be having some issues, guys.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Okay, then I'll just go back to an old email, maybe.
Okay, see if you can find it.
I don't have one. Whichever one.
Okay, I see WCPT entered here.
Yeah.
Okay, Dylan. So we'll just go straight into the show. Okay, don't play the openings and stuff. Okay, good morning, guys. Folks, we are live on WCPT, and welcome again back to the show. I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem. Today, we wanted to have a long discussion on what's happening in our country in my monologue, but we seem to have lost about 10 minutes in the 5 minutes, rather, of the show in the morning. But I really wanted to focus on a couple of things, folks. America is entering a very, very dangerous new phase in politics now. Not because people are becoming more radical, because people are becoming more tired of being managed, tired of being distracted, tired of hearing that everything is historic while nothing actually changes. This week, the Democratic Party found itself staring into its mirror it has spent years avoiding, and the reflection looked angry. Young voters are revolting. Labor activists are revolting. Progressives are revolting. Even long-term Democratic loyalists are beginning to ask a forbidding question, right? What exactly are we defending anymore? Because for years, the establishment Democrats have ruled that they can run on one central promise. And what was that promise again? Vote for us and we will slow the collapse. Now, stop it. Not reverse it. Just manage it more politely. Healthcare costs are still exploding. Housing remains unaffordable. Wages remain stagnant. Corporate profits are soaring into the stratosphere while ordinary Americans compare egg prices like they are trading gold futures. And every election cycle, the message is the same. This is the most important election of our lifetime. At this point, Americans are beginning to suspect that their lifetime has become a subscription service. And now the Democratic establishment is shocked that younger progressives are no longer applauding incrementalism like it's some kind of sacred religion. They don't want another consultant-approved slogan, folks. They don't want another carefully focus group confrontation. They want performative confrontation, not real confrontation. With corporate monopolies, with billionaire donors, with pharmaceutical companies, with defense contractors, with a political system where lobbyists write legislation faster than citizens can read it. And here's the part that terrifies party leadership. The energy is no longer coming from inside the building. It's coming from outside, from people like us here on the Lightning Strike, from labor movements, tenant movements, grassroots organizers, independent media, mutual aid networks, union drives. The people knocking on doors now are not asking permission from party leadership anymore. And that changes everything because institutions across America are facing the same problem right now. The public no longer believes them. Congress, yeah, approval ratings are in the basement. The media, trusted less than used car salesmen, spam callers. The Supreme Court, seen increasingly as a political weapon wearing a judicial robe. Corporations lecture workers, folks, about values while laying them off by email, right? We have seen that. Universities are drowning students in debt while administrators collect executive salaries that look like NBA contracts. Even the Democratic Party itself has become trapped between two realities. Its donors fear change, so we don't want to disturb donors. But voters are demanding it. This is not a sustainable equation. And Republicans understand this weakness better than Democrats do. And that is a message that I want to give to the Democratic leadership today. Don't be so complacent that, oh, yeah, with the war and everything, we are going to win the midterm elections outright. Yeah, may not happen. The Republican Party may be extreme, folks. It may be authoritarian. It may be fueled by grievance and outrage. But at least its voters believe that the party is fighting for something. Democrats increasingly look like managers of decline, caretakers of dysfunction, human resource representatives for late-stage capitalism, and voters can feel it. You see it in the language now. People aren't asking for hope anymore. They're asking whether the system is even capable of responding to reality. Can it stop endless wars? Can it regulate AI? Can it make housing affordable? Can it prevent billionaires from buying elections? Can it protect labor rights? Can it rebuild trust? Or are we simply watching institutions continue operating long after public faith has evaporated? Because that is the real crisis in America right now. Not left versus right, legitimacy versus collapse. A nation can survive disagreement, folks. What it cannot survive is millions of people concluding that none of the institutions around them are real anymore. That voting changes nothing. We have seen that there's an ennui in people now. Yeah, my vote doesn't count. Why the heck should I vote? That justice depends on wealth, that laws apply selectively. We are all seeing that every single day. That politicians perform outrage while serving the same donors behind closed doors. That is when democracies became unstable. And here is the warning sign that nobody in Washington is willing to talk about. When institutions lose legitimacy, people stop looking for reformers. They start looking for wrecking balls. History has shown this over and over again. When systems refuse to reform themselves, voters eventually choose people who promise to burn the whole thing down. Sometimes metaphorically, sometimes not. And unless Democrats understand the depth of public frustration right now, they are going to keep mistaking controlled press conferences for political strength. The ground is moving beneath the Democratic Party. This is no longer about left versus center inside the party, folks. This is about whether Americans still believe that gradualism can solve emergencies. Climate change is not gradual. Artificial intelligence is not gradual. Corporate consolidation is not gradual. Economic displacement is not gradual. But Washington still believes like it is 1997 and everybody just needs another bipartisan task force. Our country is screaming for urgency. And when institutions cannot produce urgency, movements do. That's why labor activism is growing. That's why independent media is growing. That's why grassroots organizing is growing. People are building parallel sources of trust because the official ones are collapsing. And maybe that's the real story of America in 2026. Not polarization, not ideology, but exhaustion. An exhausted public looking at institutions that still speak the language of stability while the ground shakes beneath everybody's feet. And the question now is simple. Can the system still reform itself? Or has America entered the phase when voters stop trying to repair institutions and start trying to replace them? That answer may define the next generation. I'm Mohammed Faheem. This has been the Lightning Strike monologue on Sunday, May 10th. Good morning, team. Welcome, everybody. And I would like to welcome Ray Hanania as our guest host this morning. Good morning, Ray.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning, everybody.
I'm sorry I had to go on that rant because the Democratic Party has lost its bearings. Okay, they
You're a
think that they're
com.
going to win the election because of the war and because everybody is against Trump. Yeah, what do you have to offer concretely?
Right. Listen. You did it in a very calm, unusual Muslim Arab way, Mohammed, because normally one of our leaders would be screaming into the mic in a 2-hour rant. So you did it in a very reasoned way.
Well, I wanted to keep it down to my 7 minutes that I have for my monologue every morning, Ray.
All
And
right.
folks, we started a little bit late on WCPT this morning. If you want to call in, join the conversation. The number is 773-774-8585, or you can do 773-763-9278. And our call-in segment is always sponsored by our friend Ray Hanania. And it's called What's on Your Mind. So, Ray, what's on your mind? Who do we have with joining us today?
Well, we got a great guest. He's a former. He just resigned from the high school district 230 board. He'd been on it for 3 years, since April 4, 2023, when he was elected as a trustee. But before we get into it, I'll give you a real fast synopsis of why District 230 is so important. District 230, since the 90s, has been one of the most racist school districts in the state. And in 1991, I ran for the seat. And then in 1994, Miriam Zayed ran for the seat 3 times. It had the largest concentration of Arab American students, and they were about 10% of the population of the 3 high schools. I think 10% of 7,000 students, but they were 90% of the expulsions from the high school. I raised my daughter there. She graduated with honors, and my son recently graduated. Well, not recently, 5 years ago, with honors from Sandburg also. So Sandburg today has a large population, and we tried so hard to get an Arab on that board, the 6-member board, and they constantly blocked us. They didn't want an Arab voice, even though today the population of the students are about a third Arab and Muslim. So on April 4th, 2023, Mohammed Jaber gets elected, and he's an education professional. He's been in the field. I'm not unlike me. I was a political person. Miriam Zaid was an education person. She ran 3 times and lost. Mohammed ran once and won. And instead of embracing him, we had the community divided, because the Arab community. If it's not them, they get upset. Why you? Why not me? That's the big question. It's a famous question in Arabic. So he got elected in April 2023, Mohammed. And when you came in and when you were elected, one of the first things you did was you wanted to bring an Arabic language option for students, not Arab students, but all students, because the Arab world and the Middle East was becoming so important in business and success that having the option to learn Arabic was important. And in those 3 years, you were faced with anger and attacks and political shenanigans behind the scenes.
Excuses, a lot of excuses of why we couldn't do it and instead of why we could do it.
Right. And you resigned, right?
Yes,
March, I believe, or April.
March this year. Yeah.
This past March.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
So I brought it up in literally May of 23, a month after I sent an email.
To add the language to the school.
I said, we did it in a communicative way with the board, with the superintendent. I said, what's the process? Let's start the process. Let's start talking about it to see how we could add this, and it was, let's start at a hybrid model, one school, Arabic 1 and Arabic 2, World Language 1 and World Language 2. It wasn't like I want 100 courses at all three schools, right? Let's start it. Let's see how it goes. If it works out, and this was, and I said this. I said if it works out, great. If it
Right.
doesn't, we could stop it after a year or 2 years. It's like as long as we give the students an option of another language, why not, right? I saw the other
Right.
language courses, in committees they were declining enrollment, like German and Latin. They were declining in enrollment, and this past year they had to cut courses for German, and Latin is not going to be offered anymore next year. So now you're having, instead of having four language courses, now your students will have three language courses: Spanish, German, and French. So now they're not going to have an option for the fourth language course. So, and this was my argument 3 years ago. Let's give students more options, right?
Right.
And
And it was for all the students. I mean, because there's a large
students.
Arab population,
I don't even
everybody
say.
was saying, "Oh, this is to help the Arab kids speak Arabic."
I don't even say.
But it's about the white kids too.
I don't.
They
I
I
don't.
mean, Arab kids, I think they do speak Arabic, right, Ray?
yes, they do, and it's like, but
Okay.
they tried to make it into a racial thing rather
Right.
than a business educational opportunity.
Like it's
That
like
was the
learning,
response to Muhammad.
learning Chinese and Mandarin and
Mandarin,
Spanish. Like
Spanish, yes.
my daughter is a Spanish teacher in the middle school.
Right.
And I'd even say all students. The way I don't say all students is because you don't need to say all students. I just say
Right.
students in
Yeah.
general. It's
Yeah.
students, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
why this important is like Ray said earlier, and like Mr. Faheem said earlier. What is the United States doing? We're in constant war with Arab countries, or we're in constant business with Arab countries, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
why not give our students a kind of like a head start into a growing career?
If they want it
if
as
they
an
want
option,
it, it's an
wasn't even
option.
mandatory. Yeah.
And companies are paying $20,000 to $30,000 more to know Arabic than any other language now, because from 1980s to what 2000s we're big on Spanish, right?
Right.
Now we're doing less business in South
Hispanic.
America.
Right.
And then from 2015, we're big on Mandarin Chinese, correct? Now we're doing less
Right.
business with China. Now we're going to do a lot more business with Arab countries in the next 20, 25 years. So why not give
Right.
students a first hand or a head start in learning the language that gives them.
So you work in a very positive way with this school board, a 6-member board.
Yeah.
And like I said, it has 3 high schools. It's one of the largest, not the largest, but one of the largest. I mean, 8,000 students. Almost a third are Arab and Muslim. And they go into shock. They're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Hey, we'll do this. Take it easy for 2 years. Don't worry, we'll look at it.
Yeah.
So finally, in January, they had a board meeting. They meet once a month. And he finally says, "Hey, I want to make a motion that we formally look into this thing," right? And nobody on the board would second it because somebody told them, even the 2 board members that suggested they might be interested, they were bullied into not supporting it, and you couldn't get on there. So then you resigned, correct? Right after that?
Yeah, I resigned.
And then what do? They
Yep.
appoint another Arab, Mohammed. Nice guy. I know him. He's not an education leader. He's a great guy. And I'm not criticizing him. But Mohammed Jaber had the education experience. That's what you want. They chased
Ray,
this guy out.
If you don't mind, I think, Mohammed, if you want to stay on a little bit longer, this is a very interesting conversation. I don't think that we will be able to finish it in 10 minutes. So if you guys got nothing better to do in the morning, I think I want to, dive a little bit deeper into this conversation for our listeners.
All right, we can do. But one point I'd like to say is that Mike Porfirio in the Senate, Meg Logren, and Senator Graciela Guzman have decided to take it out of the hands of the high school district, and they've introduced a resolution that they're going to pass that would require and give options to every high school in the state of Illinois, the option to add Arabic to their classes for their students. And I think that's going to take it away from local politics that Mohammed had to deal with.
And Mr. Faheem, can I add one thing right
Please
away?
go ahead. I mean, take all the time that you want, Mohammed, because I
So
The
think
next
this
the
is
next
very
2 hours,
important.
Mohammed. Go ahead. The next 2
No,
hours.
so
no, no, no.
in 28, 29, it's going to be required for high schools to have a 2-year foreign language requirement. But by 2032, 2033, 100% of the students in high school districts will have to take 2 years of world language courses, including American Sign Language courses. So what are schools doing to prepare for that? That's the one thing I want to add.
Okay, I think you make a great point over there. Okay, we have to look beyond the immediate, and we do have a lot of people in local politics and local government now who think they know everything, and then they try to block any new ideas coming in. Let me see if our team has any questions for you. Dr. Sheila White is also on with us this morning, and she is having some issues with her video part. So we'll start with Dr. White. Sheila, you got any questions for Mohammed Jaber or Ray?
Yeah, this is not a new issue. This racism that's going on. I mean, it's just been going on for a long time. We're experiencing racism under the bald eagle of this
Right.
country. This administration, they declared, diversity war on their very first day in the administration. So it's no surprise that this is still going on literally all across America. That affected universities and law firms and things along that line. So they're still penetrating into this area. There's so many different things and areas that has been affected by racism and discrimination. We really have to bring it out and let it know. We've rolled back things for over 100 years of people that have been struggling, immigrants and people that have come here. Things have been rolled back by this federal government for over 100 years. That's the devastation that has been made. Discrimination, not only on just gender orientation, national origin, discrimination on race. I mean, things that we have fought for since 1965 with the civil rights movement. A lot of that has rolled back. So it's not a surprise what you're saying, Mohammed, the things that are happening, it's happening, still happening. And they're just really affecting every minority race that's here in America. And we're here to be together. We're supposed to stand together, fight together, work together. That's what the umbrella of America was at one time. But we all have to be aware that the old America is being erased day by day. And this administration is really more acting like it's a racist administration because it's not for the people. As Mohammed said, this is our government. It's for the people, by the people, but it's not for everyone. And immigrants are not feeling welcomed here anymore. Like at once upon a time, the red carpet was rolled out, but now it's being rescinded in so many areas, in so many ways. And so I'm not surprised, Mohammed, and I want to, just salute you for being brave enough to bring this, you and Ray, this topic to the lightning strike, because this is a lightning strike this morning. That's what I have to say about it, Mohammed.
Well, thank you so much for bringing that up. And, I think in the last month, there's been almost 3 articles on Arabic as a world language. And like Ray mentioned, the resolution in Springfield by the state Senate passed by the committee unanimously, called to 0, and I believe 1 was absent. So this is a the state as well knows now that they have to start expanding foreign language options in school, and they're acting upon that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, folks. Thank you so much for joining. This morning also, guys, we are starting a new segment on our show. We're calling it District Watch. And this is to keep the politicians locally on their toes and hold them accountable for their actions in their districts. So we are inviting district leaders. We are inviting people who have run for office in the past and who plan on running again, community leaders, anyone who has a say in their district, to identify local issues and bring it to the attention of the national audience. And instead of things filtering down from Washington down to us locally, we want to create this group of people locally who know the issues and who can educate us on that. So our first guest on the District Watch segment, and we'll be doing it probably about twice a month, not every month. We've got Nick Unaniejewski joining us this morning. I would like to welcome Nick. Nick recently ran for local office, and we'll get to know from him what he ran for and what he is concerned about that he is seeing in the district. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Well, thank you.
Morning.
Thank
Good
you so
morning,
much
Nick.
for joining
Welcome.
us.
Welcome.
Hey, Nick.
And I'll let Mike take the ball and run with it now.
Yeah, good morning, Nick. Really excited about this and so excited having you as the first one on for this very important and very informative District Watch segment that Chris Hilbert is going to be the point person on it. And I know that you're a public policy expert, community organizer. You're a former candidate for the Illinois State Senate in the 6th District on Chicago's North Side. You worked at all levels of government in Chicago with a focus on housing, transit, trauma-informed public spaces, and pushing Democrats to fight a lot harder for working people, which is exactly what the lightning strike's all about, is pushing these politicians to do what they're supposed to be doing, to be working for the people. So with that, I'd like you to, just say a couple things about yourself and tell me what you plan on doing in the near future.
Yeah, well, first, thank you all for having me on. I am so thankful for everything we did in our campaign for state senate in the 6th district, which covers a lot of the big north side neighborhoods like Lakeview, Lincoln Park, North Center, Wrigleyville, all the great, most fabulous places that Chicago has to offer. But my background's in organizing. I got my start years ago doing a lot of pro-choice work, also working on a number of campaigns with people that really fought hard for people that were often left out of politics, people that were the low wage workers, people that were gig workers like Lyft drivers and Uber drivers. I drove for Lyft in the past too. And in the most recent history, I've been organizing these things called salons across the North Side, small group gatherings where we get together and talk about things like housing or transit or so many more things. And in our campaign, we did nearly 300 of those. And it became so clear to me that you got to get people in office that shape policies with community in mind, because the issues are just so different now, especially here on the North Side. What I have heard even since the election back in March, housing continues to be the top issue of our time. Here on the North Side, we have so many people that want to buy a home but can't because the housing stock doesn't exist, or they're longtime renters or owners that are just getting priced out, whether it's through rising property taxes or ballooning rents that just keep going up and up and up with wages really not keeping pace. Just this last weekend, I was out touring a place with my boyfriend, and 2-bedroom in Lincoln Park was going for $525,000. And
Wow.
right when the open house began, 20 people were in line. And that is sadly the norm. That was for looking for a place to buy, but we're seeing it with rents too. We have people lining up around the block in Lakeview and Lincoln Park, all these neighborhoods on the North Side and elsewhere too, that are just outbidding each other for homes. I mean, it does not need to be this way. So one of the big things that I would encourage everyone who's listening today, certainly do call your state senator, call your state rep, because there's a bill in Springfield right now, a package of them called the Build Illinois Plan that would help legalize a number of different types of housing, things like 3 flats and 4 flats by right, coach houses, so you can add an additional property in the back of your lot, or change some tiny little tweaks like building codes for things like staircases and maybe elevators and permitting times, so we can get more housing on the market faster, because really what's happening now is not working for people. And if we do nothing at all, I mean, sadly, people are going to keep outbidding each other, or people are just going to have to leave our state. And I don't want that to happen.
Nick, one of the concerns that I had with the Build Illinois Act that you're referring to was overreach from Springfield over local zoning laws. That is something that I am totally opposed to. Okay, I'm the plan commissioner and the zoning board of appeals commissioner over here in our local village, and if somebody is trying to come down from Springfield and telling me that, hey, if you have a piece of land which is 5,000 square feet, you can put a, granny flat on it or build a condominium on it right next to a single family home. That is going to affect values all over the town also. We have to keep that in mind. So it has some good aspects on the Build Act, like what you're referring to, but also we have to be cognizant of the fact that people have spent a lot of money and invested a lot of money in single family housing. And you can't just sit in Springfield and draw a red circle on a map and say, yeah, you can put in, a condominium right next to Mr. Ray Hanania's house over there. So I think that needs to be looked at also.
And it is true. We do have to balance local decision making with the need right
Yeah.
now.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, in our town over here, a typical townhouse, two-bedroom townhouse that they are starting to build now is starting around $450,000. My question to the developers when we have our meetings in the plan commission is, hey guys, who do you think is going to be affording that? Have you done your market study? And their response always is, yeah, we have done our market study. The market can bear it. So there is a lot of things that we need to look at. Folks, we're talking with Nick Unaniejewski. Nick ran for the state senate in the primary election, and I believe Nick, we had this conversation before. You knocked on what, 80,000 doors?
Oh, wow.
We sure did knock
Does
on.
that ring a
Wow.
bell to?
Wow.
I
Amazing.
burned through a lot of shoes, a lot of pairs of gloves, and many people across the north side. I might have knocked on your door myself twice. So
Okay.
a lot of fun.
So what we want to do with this District Watch segment, folks, is bring people like Nick on who identify the issues that are there locally. These are not consultants who come in from Washington. I remember, Ray, when I was running for office, we had a guy come down and say, "Hey, I came here from California. I'm a filmmaker. I can make a 30-second ad for you, and I can do the scripting and da da da." He went on and on and on. And I said, "What's going to be the cost for us?" He said, "Oh, only $40,000."
Yeah, right.
Okay. and,
Yeah.
and
Listen, Nick knocking on how many? 80,000
80,000, sir.
doors? That's amazing.
Mhm.
That really is amazing. Nick, yeah, you've always been active. Very impressed by you. I've covered politics a long time. It's always good to get a young voice. You're a great young person to get involved in this ugly profession called politics, okay, and government, because it gets ugly and nasty, and they're going to do everything they can to hold on to their jobs or keep you out, either because they like you or they want to do it for themselves.
So,
If
Mike, you got any questions for Nick?
Well, I was just wondering, what are your first two or three top priorities that you're going to be diving into going forward into this, into this new political landscape?
Well, certainly housing remains a top thing for me. We
Okay.
need to do a lot of work statewide to make this situation better for a lot of people. We also have a lot of needs with safe streets and transit, not just on the north side, but a lot of places around the state too. Right where I am on the intersection of Addison and Inner Lakeshore Drive, it's one of the most unsafe intersections in the state. And it's because a lot of people will blow through a light, they will be going to a Cubs game and just get too excited and turn right on red and inevitably hit somebody, whether they're a cyclist or a pedestrian, because it also is the intersection where you have lake access to Lake Michigan. One of the things that we are trying to do with a lot of the advocacy groups here on the north side, including Lakeview Urbanists, is to install some more pedestrian friendly infrastructure, things like bollards or more curb bump outs, where even though it's not necessarily a traffic light situation where you're changing the speed of the light or the timing, it's just actual physical infrastructure things that will slow cars down because you have to pay a little bit more attention. We've seen the success of these things and elsewhere across the city and state, also from other states and around the world too. So that's one little thing we can do. that doesn't cost a ton of money either. It's just getting our local officials to prioritize things in a little different way. We're also seeing things prioritized where it's almost shifting away from the public transit infrastructure we have here. I love riding the CTA. There's a lot of things we can do to make it better, more efficient, cleaner, more safe. But at the same time, we're seeing a lot of our business interests not be good community partners. Right here, we have the Cubs who are actively trying to expand a parking lot that is already not full on most game days. They want to have even more space right around Wrigley Field. And we've seen this with a number of other stadiums across our region right now. We have the Sox, which around their most of their stadium is just a parking lot. But at the same time, we have the United Center, which has a vision for the future that says, hey, you know what, if we want people to come to a Blackhawks game or a Bulls game, we're going to change the way our stadium looks and feels. We're going to add maybe additional housing around it. We're going to add a different kind of arena. And so to see the Cubs prioritize a parking lot, which is already not full, it already causes a lot of traffic in the neighborhood on game days. They can be better community partners, we think. And so we're pushing them from the advocacy lens to do that. There's a number of things we can do in between elections, which is the really important part. We cannot just expect people to fly in for 6 weeks, fight hard for a big election day, and then disappear. The big hard work is leading on the issues year round. And that's what I'm going to continue to do across the north side. I'll keep doing my salons. You'll see me on the street. You'll see me on my bike. So please say hi and join us.
Well, thank you, Nick. Folks, we are talking about our new segment, District Watch. This is going to be a recurring segment on the lightning strike where we'll feature former candidates, community advocates, organizers, civic watchdogs reporting on issues affecting their districts and monitoring the performance of elected officials also. So this is not going to be a campaign platform. This is going to be a platform where the participants can provide district updates, constituent concerns, policy analysis, accountability reporting, election insights, local government developments, and local issues like what Nick has highlighted. And this is going to be run by Chris Hilbert on our team. So if you want to be a part of this, if you want to participate, please send an email out to C for Chris Hilbert, Hilbert, at tlsradio.com. Chris, you want to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Nick a real quick question. You appear to be extremely young to this old lady here. So I would like to know what encouraged you to get involved in politics and be involved in the community and care so much about the people in your area. It just seems I don't want to be denigrating to anybody, but it's a little bit unusual for younger people to be so involved at such a relatively younger age. And so was there something that just motivated you, or did you just feel naturally compelled to be helpful to everybody and think of the bigger picture? I'm just curious about motivations, I guess.
Hey, Chris, Nick is actually 65 years old. I mean, it's those
Oh,
youth
wow.
supplements
Okay,
that
well,
is.
hey, share your secret with me, please.
Okay.
I'm going to
first.
take off my Scooby-Doo mask.
Right?
For everyone listening, this is the voice of a fun, exciting 30-year-old. But
Okay.
I decided to get involved in politics because I just wanted our elected officials to be better. That was why I got involved in volunteering in campaigns in the first place. But as time went by, I was hosting all these events and we would talk about a number of things all the time. And when I started hosting my salons, we had no interest. I had no interest of running for office. It was just we all crave community and connection more than ever before. And oftentimes in politics, there's not a lot of ways for people to get involved without paying $1,000 for an event. And I hated it because I said, whether you are a young person or not, that is just a barrier for way too many people. And it shuts so
Right.
many people out of the process. So as time went by, I realized, okay, we talk a lot about things like housing and transit, and a lot of these are state level issues. We should really look at who our people are and are they fighting for it? And the answer was no on the north side. And so I said, you know what, we should really find someone to run for this seat. And after a while, everyone was like, hello,
Oh,
but
you.
but
So,
I decided to jump in to run myself because there's not a lot of people in government that look like me. There's not a lot of people who talk like me, who don't understand these issues in the same granular way that
right,
really got to meet with this moment right now. I mean, we do not have people in government that understand the level of this housing crisis on the north side. For so many people, you would think that, certainly by 30 years old, you'd be able to have a home, maybe buy your second home with a growing family. And there are so many people in my generation right now who have the worst student debt of all time, who have wages that have stayed the same for the last 10 years, who have healthcare issues that are growing out of control with costs just soaring up, up, up. And we have elected officials who are just beholden to the grip of corporate influence. And they really don't care about all these crises that are compounding right now because they answer to people like Pfizer, they answer to people like Big Pharma, they will answer to the Realtors Association, and they don't care. And I decided
right.
we could do better. And so we did. We knocked on 80,000 doors. We took our message straight to the people, and it was a ton of fun. And for anyone who came to any of our events, I mean, it's not often you have an elected official or somebody running for office who's hula hooping on stage talking about single stare reform, but that was my campaign.
Yeah,
And
and Nick, you did really well. I mean, when you look at the election, you came within 5,000 votes in a 38,000 vote cast against Sarah Feigenholtz, and who's been so irresponsible, in my opinion, and not responsive. And was there any factor, any specific thing that you felt that if you could have overcome that, you could have won? I mean, it's always important to look at why someone lost without, it's not a criticism,
Mhm.
but what was it that you felt kind of held you back from winning?
Ray, you said it right. Like we did so extremely well with 1/10 of the money. And in the last 2 weeks, we saw a number of dark money players fly into our race. The Democratic Party of Illinois spent more money against me than any other candidate in the state. We had two super PACs created against us, one by DraftKings, one by Michael Sachs, who also turns out to be one of APAC's largest donors in the state of Illinois. And when you had all that, with the field army we had, you could do a lot still on the ground, but the dark money influx in those last 2 weeks really went a long way for her, sadly. So, if we had a little bit more money, I would, love to expand the outreach we did, but still very proud of everything we did with what little we had.
Well, Nick, one of the things that we wanted to do again on the lightning strike over here is feature people like you before the next election cycle begins. People wait till the last minute
Right.
and then they start fundraising and then they come in from outside the state sometimes to run for local office over here without having any roots in the community. And people like you who are putting down roots over here, that is who we want to bring in and get you an expanded audience throughout the next 2 years that that you can run again. And we need people like you. And
Yes.
that is the intent of the District Watch, folks. So contact Chris C. Hilbert at tlsradio.com if you want to be featured on this. We'll also be putting this on our website later on. And that way, if you are a community organizer, if you are a candidate, if you are just interested in the community that you live in to make it a better place, come out and let the party leaders know from the grassroots up and not through consultants what are the concerns of the people on the street.
Yes, and if I can say one thing before you leave, I'm really impressed by you, and I have been since the first time I met you when you were working with Marie Newman, and we go back a little bit, and you've always held the public as your priority, as the people as your priority. Yeah, we have to get back to servant leadership, and I think you represent servant leadership.
Yeah.
And we're I'm really excited that we had you as the first person on this launch because these are the kind of people you represent the kind of people that we want to have out there representing the people.
And Nick, one
Yeah.
of the things that you could do to help us also is ask people, and you yourself just go on our website, tlsradio.com, become a subscriber. We are trying to keep the show ad-free as much as possible. And we are in our third year now, and we are totally self-funded. We don't want to take corporate advertising, corporate PAC money. A lot of people have come in and offered that, and I'm like, no, we don't want it. So subscriptions start as low as $10 a month, but that will help us keep this thing going. So, folks, if you're listening in, go to tlsradio.com and please become a subscriber. Mike Patino is going to become a subscriber. Mike was telling me the other day.
Yes,
And
I am. As a
yeah,
matter of
Murray is already a subscriber. So our team members are becoming subscribers just to get the ball rolling. And Ray, we are planning a fundraiser with you, sir.
Yes, we are. In July, it looks like we're going to put something together because we need to not just raise money, but we need to raise awareness. And it's so important that groups come together and network before elections, during the off season, so that we all work together and give everybody a platform to help each other.
But Ray, I kind of think like, a professional sports team, they don't wait till the season starts before they start
Right,
training, right?
right, correct.
And I have seen a lot of people wanting to run for office just before the election, 6 months,
Right.
8 months before they start doing, focus groups, and I want to run for Congress. Excuse me, what have you been doing for the last 2 years
Right.
from the previous election that you ran in? Oh, I was busy doing other things. We don't want people like that.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this district watch is this is going to show the progress that people like Nick and others that are actually working in their community, doing things that they're supposed to do, not turning on this performance clown act at the last 3 or 4 months before the election. So we want people that are very concerned about their community and can report from time to time what they're doing within their community. And also, like Mohammed said, we need to hear from the community about this.
Well, we
Yeah.
got 5 minutes to finish off the segment over here, folks, before we go to the top of the hour for our NBC News and stuff. 9 o'clock hour, about 9:15, 9:10, Congresswoman Marie Newman joins us with her segment. 9:30, we'll have Maria Muzaffar come in to see what the echo chamber is that she's going to be breaking and talking about today. And 9:45, we have Dr. Sheila White bringing us our person of the week. Sheila, you want to give a little preview of who the person of the week is?
Yes, we have a awesome person of the week that's going to be coming on. It's a young person like Nick. There's some other people out there, Nick, like yourself, that's making a difference around the world. She is an individual that is an engineer, and she has a passion for helping people with technological needs around the world, like electrical and radio broadcasting and just water solutions. So she's a dynamic individual with a magnetic personality. So Mike and Ray, we're looking forward to talking to another young lady that's making a difference in the world, Chris, besides yourself.
Phenomenal.
Excellent, excellent.
So
Awesome.
that's what the intent of the show is, folks. We want to create awareness, and we want to make sure that there is a media out there that is reflecting the values of the people, not the leadership. And I'm so sick and tired of our tired old leadership now, and I don't mean old in terms of age, just the very concept of not looking at new ideas, not talking with younger people, not talking with people who have fresh ideas. They just want to look at consultants, and these consultants, Ray, I know for a fact that in the last congressional race in the 8th district, one of the candidates I'm not going to name names over here, raised over $1 million. And almost half of that money was spent on consultants.
Right.
Yeah, but how about consulting with your people that you're supposed to be or wanting to represent? Spend that money, spend that time out there with them, especially the consultants that come from outside the area, like a different state. Sorry, you have no idea what's going on in our state, in our neighborhood.
When people call me and ask me to talk about politics with them, I tell them, listen, go out the election. Don't go and jump in just 6 weeks before the election. Sign up, go out and come up with some great ideas. Make a name for yourself in the district. Let people know who you are. You won't need a consultant. I mean, although in honesty, you got to have at least one consultant like me. So,
Well,
but
yeah.
you need you need something to help write.
Yeah, I mean,
because
you
not
need,
every politician can write.
yeah,
But
you need
be out there, make issues.
yeah,
Well,
you
yeah.
need someone to give a structure to a campaign. I
Yes.
agree with
Yes.
you. Okay. But you don't need this
Too many.
superstar consultants coming in charging 30,
Right.
40, $50,000 for a 30-second
Right.
radio ad now. That is crazy. Folks, Nick Unaniejewski, thank you, Nick. Thank you so much for joining us this
Thank you,
morning. Any
Nick.
final words before we let you go?
No, thank you again for having me on. And if people want to stay plugged in with us, our website is nickforillinois.com. Same thing on all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook. But yeah, please reach out and hopefully I'll see you out there.
Yeah,
Nick, free consulting advice, run again, and start promoting everything that you're doing. Get it out, find a way to get your ideas to the people. That's the most important thing you can do over the next 2 years.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we
You're
will
doing a
bring
great
you
job.
back
Thank you.
again. Yeah, it's not a one-time gig over here, Nick. We want to bring you back again. We are going to focus on about maybe 12 to 15 candidates and community leaders who we feel are going to be good for our country, and keep on circulating them at least twice a month on the Lightning Strike over here. So they're not going to be featured every month, of course, but Chris will work with you so that it fits in your schedule also. Okay?
Sounds great. Well, thanks for having me on.
Thank you,
Thank you,
folks.
Nick.
See you, buddy.
Thank you for
Bye-bye.
listening. We are at the top of the hour, 9 o'clock. Let's see if the station wants to take a break, but we will continue the conversation over here on our Facebook page while WCPT is taking their station break. And folks, if you want to join the conversation again, the number to call in is 773-763-9278. And also you can call in at 773-774-8585. I see Maria Muzaffar has joined our conversation early in the morning. And so, Maria, good morning. And thank you, Ray. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for bringing in Mohammed Jaber. And if you have someone like this again, please feel free, be a part of the show anytime. This is for all of us.
And I should have information for you maybe next week or the week after about what we're planning for a fundraiser to help strengthen and build up the radio show, because it's so critical. We really need it. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you for your support. And folks, again, we got about 2 minutes that we are taking in for the break, and then we'll come back with more conversation with Maria. And I am going to say goodbye to Ray, and we are welcome back anytime, Ray. So, Maria, are you going to be joining us early this morning, or you want to wait for your segment?
I'll wait for my segment, but very
Okay.
good very good morning.
Okay.
But no, I want to chime into this consultant thing.
Please do.
So I get asked a lot about legislative strategy and especially campaigns. So I know the value of consultants. But I think that it's very, very important that the consultants don't change who you are, number one, change who you are, and number two, change the way that you are supposed to reach out to the constituents, because people follow trends. Like, for example, when Mamdani started making all these videos with different languages and all this stuff and different type of stuff, you saw a lot of other candidates doing it. And some of them, it wasn't in their comfort level. right? So I echo the sentiment that every strategy has to be different based on the candidate and the district. And I think you can hire a gazillion consultants, the best in the business, who have seen campaigns, but they can't make authenticity. You know, they can't create authenticity, and they can't create courage. I will say that all consultants sometimes also, especially when it's related to policy, they will identify, okay, here are the top issues that are coming up in your district, right? That you should be aware of. But here are the positions that will be problematic for you. So when you do that, you're kind of asking the consultant what position I should take in certain positions, right? In certain issues, sorry. And so the consultants should not be telling you when to be courageous and when not to be courageous. And this specifically comes to mind in a conversation that Kamala Harris had when she was running for president. She was in Dearborn, Michigan, and she was addressing individuals that wanted to talk about Muslim and Arab leaders that wanted to talk about Gaza. And she said, it's a very horrible thing that's happening over there. You know, it's a very, very sad thing that's happening over there. And she would not really go into the violations of international law, humanitarian crisis, and obviously the word genocide was considered a very, very scary thing to say for a candidate at that time, because the consultants were all saying not to do that, even though there were so many findings from Holocaust and genocide experts that were stating that. So what caused that positioning, right? Other than the argument that we always do analyze, which is the power of money and AIPAC and lobby power, what was the other thing? And I think the other thing is that the consultant can easily say that this is going to get you in trouble. Stay away from things that'll get you in trouble. Well, then that erodes the candidate's courage, right? So I think consultants have their place for pragmatic field setup. Mohammed, like, right, you were saying the structure of the campaign, the field setup, how do you do outreach, who are the parties you need to meet, who are the the candidates for political director that can introduce you to individuals that need to meet with you and want to know your positions. But they cannot create authenticity, and they cannot teach you courage, and they may even erode your courage because you're so careful in recognizing what the consultants are saying. So that's just my outside of my
Maria.
breaking.
If I can expand
Very
on
well
that for a
said.
second. Yeah, I've done a lot of consulting work, and I started out in Texas, and you have to enhance the courage of the candidate. A lot of candidates don't have courage. They think they do, but when the rubber meets the road, they just disintegrate. So, and you have a lot of consultants out there, Maria, that are steering their clients the wrong direction. Now, I don't know if it's on purpose or if they're just incompetent, but when you take somebody who's courageously should take a stand against the genocide, and they're cautious, well, look what happened now. 2 years later, post-mortem on the Democratic Party, you're finding out that they should have done this and they should have done that. Or their consultants were telling them not to do that.
Yeah, 100%.
And make it so easy for them to not do that.
Yeah, make it so easy for them. And I think I want to expound this for the audience too, is that make it so easy for them. There's a whole strategy of media and talking points and the way to steer away from the topics that might get you in trouble, right? And so for a candidate, like the candidate that says, I want to get right to the nerve center. I want to hit the issue right up front and I want to address it. And consultants have to encourage that, or they'd be like, oh my God, don't go there. That's going to get us in trouble. And that conversation happened often. And I agree with you. Like now, look at it 2 years later, you know, and now individuals running for president in the Democratic Party have now come full forth to say, we have to be honest. We did not take the position that we needed to take in Gaza. They're openly saying this now, right? So these were high-paid consultants who have helped Democrats win for years. So where did it go wrong? And I think where it went wrong is that consultancy does not include the equation of authenticity and courage. The other thing I was going to just share is that I did consultancy for a mayoral race. I just want to share this story. And this woman was a very, very amazing woman, very competent woman, self-made, just such a beautiful story. She was running for mayor and of a town. And, I'm not going to go into details of the name. She may not want to. But
Okay.
I will say this. I took her into very powerful rooms. Okay. I took her into rooms where if people heard her story, they would be blown away. If people who were funders, they would meet her, they would be blown away. But what I understood very clearly in that moment, I remember this evening, and one of these evenings, is that she did not see herself the way I saw her. So she could not find the courage to say certain things that I felt that she could say. So sometimes your role is as a consultant to say, listen, you may walk into these rooms and be intimidated because people think that they know more, or they've been in the area more in politics, or have these fancy titles, but you have a life story that can change circumstances for so many people. You have to grab it and you have to address it. And I think sometimes consultants, their job is to allow people to be courageous, right? And we didn't see that in the last presidential election, unfortunately.
Yeah, Maria, one of the
Right.
things that is happening in this business, like in any business, the landscape is changing. Like in my consulting business, okay, for workforce and economic development, some of the programs that I had launched very successfully 15 years back, which received national attention as best practice, are no longer relevant. So
Mhm.
I sat down, the other day and completely revamped our website, which is cfssus.com now, for the Center for Strategic Solutions. And some of the workshops that I had done with job seekers and employers 15 years back, completely revamped them for the 2026 version of what people need to know now.
Mhm.
So most of the consultants that are there, they are still sticking with their old playbook
Yeah.
without realizing the importance of emerging media,
Mhm.
artificial intelligence, what is happening now in the world. And unless those people update their playbook, they are not going to have any successful outcomes for their candidates. With
Mhm.
that, we got Marie Newman joining us. Good morning, Marie.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Happy
Thank
Happy
Mother's
Happy
Day.
Mother's Day.
As I always say, we're always mothering somebody. Doesn't mean that you maybe have given birth, but you're always mothering somebody, right? So salute to everyone.
That's true.
Okay. Well, we were having a very nice conversation this morning, Marie. I don't know if you listened in the first hour or not. We had Nick.
No, I was very busy putting pancakes in my mouth. So let's be clear. Yeah.
Gosh. Okay, I got to go eat something. But we launched our District Watch segment with Nick this morning.
Great.
It was very good, and the entire intent of the District Watch again is that we want to have a recurring segment where former candidates, community advocates, organizers, civic watchdogs reporting on issues affecting their districts,
Yeah.
and they can monitor the performance of elected officials. So it's not just candidates who ran for office or plan to run for office. We want to have, district updates from the grassroots, not from some consultant telling the party leadership as to what are the issues that people are concerned about now. So Nick spoke very strongly about the constituent concerns that are there locally, especially with housing and stuff.
Right.
So that is what we wanted to have this segment about with the District Watch. And Chris is going to be the segment producer for that. And if you know anybody who wants to participate, please have them send an email to chilbert, HILBERT @tlsradio.com. So Murray, what's on your mind this morning?
Oh my gosh, many things. I will tell you, I'm going to point to my Substack that comes out tomorrow. It's a tribute to single moms. It's one of those parts of most critical parts of our society that gets ignored a lot. So watch for that on my Substack, guys. But today, welcome to Ignore Your Risk on this Mother's Day. I have to say, it's a gorgeous day out here in Chicago for those of you in Chicago. But just a quick reminder, those that have not called their mother yet, please do. So there's that. But today there were a lot of things hard to ignore, right? Redistricting, holy cats, this has turned into a full-on, full combat war in the US. So let's just catch up on where we're at, right? Virginia court undid or chooses to undo the new map that was drawn to help Democrats. So they had, in a 4-3 decision, struck down the democratically upheld. Obviously, the people voted on this. They wanted it. They then executed it at the legislature level, and then the Virginia Supreme Court struck it down. Now, I will say that while that did happen, they are going to appeal. So I think that's fantastic. In fact, it sounds like they're going to bring it to the U.S. Supreme Court, which is really will require that these conservative justices show their real selves, right? They're in their opinions, and I'll be honest, I'm not hopeful for it at that level. I think that they're going to say, since they had such little regard for the Voting Rights Act and gutted it 2 weeks ago, I think they'll have little regard for a democratically voted on district that was fully constitutional, or set of districts in this redistricting map. So we'll see what happens. But some other falderall came out of this fallout, right? So the multiple GOP-controlled southern states pushed this week to redraw congressional maps across the South. So the ruling that was a big blow to the Voting Rights Act is actually going to play out in a bunch of districts in a bunch of states. So Louisiana quickly suspended their primaries. Come on, that's ridiculous. Governor Landry decided that he would take away the right to vote to those that have already started voting in their primaries because early voting had already started. All to make sure that there are fewer majority Black districts, right? This is insane. The level of maniacal behavior to suppress the right to vote is I knew this would happen, but it's sort of still astonishing. So in Alabama, they enacted a law Friday that would ignore the results of the May 19th congressional primaries, instead of hold a new election. So that's even wilder in some ways, right? So the Republicans currently hold 4 of the state's 6 seats in the House and want to instead use a map that could allow them to win an additional seat. So they're working on that. Meanwhile, they're withholding a constitutional primary, right? Unreal. South Carolina, not to be outdone by the other southern states, is a GOP-dominated legislature, obviously, and they met Friday to discuss a proposal that would create a new map that gives the party a shot at winning all 7 of the state house's seats. And if I'm not mistaken, at least 28% of that state is Black. So there's no logic path to this. They can say whatever they want. So of course it's immoral, of course it's unethical, of course it's illegal, but there's no logic to it either. Like even if you were going with a proportionality model. So it's all insane. So and then there's Tennessee, right? They enacted a law Thursday creating a new U.S. House map that carves up a majority Black House district in Memphis. By the way, I believe, I just double-checked yesterday, Memphis is our highest concentration of our Black neighbors of any city in the entire U.S. And they are carving it up into pieces so that is no longer a Black House district in the U.S. Congress. Insane. So now with all of that, let's put that all, mix it in a pot, right? So what this does is that this gives them in totality, maybe 5 and we'll wait to see what happens in Florida. But in totality, maybe 5, 6, 7 more seats. So they're still going to lose in the fall, but they are clinging like I'm trying to think of something that's highly adhesive. If someone thinks a good metaphor that, please let me know. So, the Democratic dominated California governance responded with a map intended to bring them 5 new states. That already happened long ago, many months ago. Legally, their citizens all voted for it. It was all good. And it seems to be holding, right? I will tell you, I'm just the tiniest bit worried that will somehow come up in the case that is coming forward to the U.S. Supreme Court by these other states. So, hold on to your seats, folks. So, for me, again, it's just such an immoral situation that we have on our hands. So, I guess the moral of the story for here is that I want to remind folks of a few things before we get to the end of this story. Democrats in Congress over the last 15 years have put forth bipartisan bills, no less than 7 times, that would end gerrymandering. So I'm going to just have a word with the mainstream media for a hot second. They keep on saying, oh, voters don't like gerrymandering. This is so bad.
Yeah.
Both sides are really being awful about this. No, we're not. The Democrats put forth 7 bills to end gerrymandering, and every time Republicans said no. Now, some conservative Democrats said no too, but to be clear, it didn't move forward. So it wasn't our idea. We didn't start this fight, but we sure as heck are not going to stand down. So MSM, mainstream media, shut your little traps. We are not doing anything wrong. We are defending this country, and you should be damn glad that we're defending this country. So there's that. And I will say I have one final word for Governors Hochul, Pritzker, and Moore. So our New York governor is Kathy Hochul, J.B. Pritzker is in Illinois, and Wes Moore in Maryland. Jump in, babies. Get your redistricting done. And I know it's hard, and I know it's impossible, and I've heard that 743 times. Everything's impossible right now. So get it done. Get out there and get some more seats that are dutifully owed to Democratic voters. So let's go. Okay, so one other thing that's been on my mind this week, and I think is on many women's mind, is mifepristone. So that is known as the abortion pill. It's also used for miscarriages. It prevents women from bleeding out when they're having a miscarriage. Right now, as we watched this past week, there was some turmoil in that area. So on May 9th, the U.S. Supreme Court temporarily paused a lower court ruling that would have restricted access to the abortion pill mifepristone. The stay ensures that for now, mailing and telehealth access for this particular medication remains in place. So in other words, when you need abortion care or miscarriage care, and you only can access it through telehealth and through the mail, you can still do it for now. But folks, let's be clear, they're coming for this. They're going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. So we have to stay vigilant on this. So support any effort that is working on this.
So, Murray, what is driving that, though? Why are they doing this?
Oh, this is very clear. So this is not all of the far Christian right, but most of the far Christian right believes that there should not be any birth control, there should not be any abortions, and there should be no ability for women to have agency over their body. Women should not have. This is what they believe. It's not. I'm not trifling about this at all. They say it in their houses of worship. They say it in their towns. They say it in town meetings. They say it in grocery stores, in these highly super far right evangelical spaces. And we are primarily, unfortunately, for that reason, we are a primarily Christian nation. Although everybody's represented, and that isn't a statement on my views, that is just a data point. But I have a message for all of these folks who are super conservative and absolutely love that that mifepristone might be taken away. So be careful what you wish for, folks. Truly. So two of the manufacturers that make mifepristone are going to the Supreme Court with this, and they want to restore full access across all nations. Right now, 13 states in their state legislatures have already ruled that you can't access abortion pills. The rest of the nation hasn't suffered through that yet, but they will. This is what they're going after. They're going after the entire
What,
state.
Marie, do you know, I'm sorry, do you know what, do you have an idea of the 13 states, some of them, just for the
They're
audience?
primarily, so the entire South,
Yeah.
I think Idaho, it's all red states, by the way, just to be
Mhm.
clear. So it's the entire South, Idaho. I'm not remembering all of them, but I can look that up for you and get it to you. But also be careful what you wish for, conservative folks, because remember, the pill is used for miscarriages, so people don't hemorrhage to death. And then just note this. So since the FDA expanded access to medication via telehealth in 2021, approximately 63,000 women per month, so we're in the millions now, obtain abortion pills this way. The majority of those 63,000 people per month are in red rural areas where there is no health care, and they're very grateful for that. So the majority were in economically vulnerable areas. They were in highly evangelical areas. I'm sorry to report, it's just true. And a substantial portion lived in conservative states where they voted for the politicians, and there was a corollary story, just to be clear. So our study, they identified that many of these people that accessed these abortion pills actually were voted Republican. So put that in your hat and smoke it a little bit. And so this is devastating for red rural America. I just want to be clear. So, like you, all you conservatives, you're going to start seeing women bleeding out. You're going to start seeing women dying from. Nobody can understand that hasn't been through that process how traumatic a miscarriage is on your body if, in fact, it's not cared for. How traumatic it can be if, in fact, let's say that you're not able to get prenatal care and it is an unintended pregnancy and you can't care for it. Many things can go wrong for the baby. Many things can go wrong for mom if, in fact, they're not cared for. So when they say that, okay, every life deserves a life, of course it does, but it's not life yet, as we all know, that, at a certain point, it is not recognized as life scientifically. So in Idaho, as an example, I just want to share this important point. Idaho lost 22% of its practicing OBGYN doctors, 22%, because they couldn't care for their patients legally. So in Idaho, you cannot legally provide an abortion. You can be arrested, and it is a felony, by the way, if you are a care provider and provide an abortion. So just understand where everybody's at. I have a whole article on this on my Substack if you care to dive deeper. And then finally, I just want to make note of where we're at, folks, internationally. So let's turn our attention to the world.
Yep.
It has to be said, once we take back the majority, we must impeach, provide a fair and transparent trial, and bring this administration to justice. Why? Because if we don't bring justice and accountability to this entire administration, our allies will never trust us again. They will think those crazy Americans will just every 4 years or so, if we have elections, every 4 years will elect someone who is mentally imbalanced, who doesn't have the character or the grit to do the job, and literally is completely unfit and takes away democracy. They feel like now they've had a 10-year test, right? It's not like they made this decision harshly. Our allies have been actually pretty patient, folks, pretty patient. And now we really don't even have allies. Let's be clear. I wrote a Substack on this, and a gentleman wrote back to me and said, Marie, name an ally. Canada's mad at us, Mexico's mad at us, the UK is barely talking to us, the entire European Union is furious. So I just want everyone to say, because my husband and I are having an ongoing fight about this, is that he's like, well, just let him go, and maybe they'll give him a sentence attached to those two summary judgments that were made with prejudice, and maybe it'll come back that, in fact, he will get a judgment out of that and go to jail. I'm like, no. That's not judging him on his criminality. There's been beyond corruption and criminality in this administration. He absolutely must have a fair and transparent legal process that brings him to accountability, or it is no good. I'm just, and now we do have to wait till we get into the majority. And by the way, the other response I'm getting frequently is, oh, we'll be so preoccupied with that. So the last two impeachments, his being Trump's, took 8 days. So let's just get it done. We can talk and chew gum at the same time. And let's go ahead and get this done. This is ridiculous. So with that, I will say thank you to everyone. Thank you to all the moms out there of every stripe, and happy Mother's Day to everybody. I'll hand back to Mohammed.
Thank you, Marie. Even in my monologue this morning, I was trying to raise some awareness in our Democratic Party also. Don't take it for granted that we are going to win the midterms.
True.
Okay, I think we are just being so, casual about it that, yeah, everybody's going to vote Democratic because of the war and Trump and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats don't have a game plan in mind to win these elections. They are just hoping that, yeah, the wind is blowing our way, we are going to win. The Republicans, on the other hand, they have specific plans in place, crazy as they may be,
Mm-hmm.
to hold on to power. So that was the focus that I had this morning, that our party leadership has to change. Our party leadership has to wake up and look at the ground realities, not so much as to what they think they know. That's how we lost the last election.
I agree. I think that there's some passivity. It depends on the district, actually. I think interestingly in Illinois we have a plan, right? But we're a very blue state. But these purple states, I think, have less of a plan. Now, I'll tell you a great story. This young man reached out to me this morning from Michigan, and he's a political director there of a county, and he runs a youth group, civics-minded youth group, right? And he works across the state. And he said, I saw you on Cenk Uyghur's show and a couple of other places I spoke recently. And can you help us? And I was like, oh, good Lord, you can't even stay in your own state and get help? Jesus, So at the end of the day, we do have to help everybody. It doesn't matter if you're in a blue state or a red state. So reach out to the purple states and the red states if they need help, folks.
And we need to bring in people who challenge leadership.
Yes.
Okay, Rachel Ventura, that you're planning to bring onto the show, I have had so much, people trying to block Rachel from coming onto the show. They called me up. They said, "We heard you're bringing Rachel on. We don't like it." I said, "Okay, we are not going to support the show." Yeah, what have you done to support the show so far?
And also, who cares? Like, this is America,
Exactly.
and we're exercising our free right. So if there's some rogue folks in some part of her constituency that feels like they need to be a thug or a bully, like, bring it, honey. Bring it.
So my response was the same. I mean, I spoke with Mike on that, and they're trying to tell me that the unions are not going to be supporting the show. I'm like, excuse me.
That's not true. That's true. Yeah. Everybody on this show is like crazy pro-union, and we all are deeply tied to unions. So please, don't threaten me, because I will flick you away like a little flicky finger. Yeah.
And that was what Mike's response was. Mike, what was your response to that?
Yeah, my response was get lost. I'll hunt you down. And these people make these ridiculous statements trying to represent the unions. And being an ex-union president, vice president, we hate guys like that, as they're always outside. They're always disgruntled. They hate unions. They hate everybody. And then they have the audacity to threaten a person like Mohammed with baseless threats and we hate that kind of stuff, because they always say, well,
So
in the name of
folks,
the union, we're doing this, and these people are not even close.
Yep. So for those of our listeners who are listening on, if you got an issue with us bringing on some guests, yeah, bring it on. We'll take you on. Okay.
Okay.
We want to make sure that this show is for the people, by the people, of the people, and not of the leadership, by the leadership, for the leadership. Okay. And that is the difference that we want to bring in. 9:30. Maria, welcome back on the show.
Thank
Which
you.
echo chamber do you want to bring on now?
I want to
Okay,
break
hang on
the
one
echo.
second, Maria. Before
Yeah.
we go to you, we got a couple of callers on.
Yeah.
WCPT is saying, let's see. Adil from Villa Park is calling in. Adil, good morning. Okay, can we bring in Adil, please? Okay, so Dylan, I'm not hearing Adil.
All right, how about now?
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Adil, good morning.
Adele.
Yes, Adele.
I'm here.
Yeah, good morning. What's on your mind regarding our leadership?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Of course we can.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, excellent show. Thank you. You made a comment. We've got to change the leadership. Yes, we do. And it's the how. Direct action steps. Now, here's what a solution I'd like to offer. Swing left. Heather Cox Richardson and Ezra and Leah are all saying the same thing. Door to door, talk to each other. So Swing Left has a video. It's called Relational Canvassing, where we just go maybe with another partner. We go door to door to talk to people and listen. And, knock on the door. Hi, I'm a Democratic voter. Perhaps I would say in our county, I would establish a commonality. And then I would ask, what do you want? What's happening in your life? What do you need? I think this is the only way we're going to overwhelm the steal. That's my phrase.
Well, thank you, Adil. And I don't know if you had a chance to listen in our first hour or not. We have launched a new segment called District Watch, where we are asking people like you and candidates who have run for office, community leaders who are actually talking to people, on their doorsteps, to come in and talk about local issues, not so much what a consultant is telling a party leadership that is the issue in a local district. So keep on listening. Thank you so much. And I think we got another caller who wants to talk about Gaza. Could you bring him in on, Dylan?
Oh, morning. Yeah, this is David out in San Francisco.
Hey, David, how are you? Thank you for listening in all the way in San Francisco for us.
Up to about a year ago, San Francisco was the headquarters for Chevron. And as you might know, the Gaza, they've discovered oil underneath Gaza. They probably discovered it as far back as 2011. But by 2019, the shelling of Gaza was pretty apparent. It was an oil war. And so we were lucky enough to have the courage to drive Chevron out of San Francisco. They no longer keep their headquarters here, and they fled down to Texas, where they're going to have to survive the onslaught of the corruption of the Abbott and I'm trying to think, Paxton administrations down there.
Right.
Just utterly corrupt. And if even that powerful corporation is going to have to face off against the corruption of somebody like Paxton and Abbott. But one other thing, you had your guest was talking about abortion. Many years ago, in reading a number of different books about abortion, it was pretty clear that organized crime was making a vast amount of money doing abortions. This was before Roe v. Wade, all the way back into the 40s, probably the turn of the last century. That organized crime, you would get an abortion, but you would also get a free extortion. That you could be blackmailed, and you could be blackmailed for the rest of your life if you had an abortion. And not only you, but the sisters, the brothers, the parents, anybody that was associated with the person that had the abortion could get blackmailed. Now, if you see these mega churches, it's been recognized since probably the late 40s, early 50s, that organized crime has been using some of these mega churches for their money laundering operations. and that since churches don't pay taxes, organized crime will plunge a huge amount of money into them, and then the church will spend that money into the operations of organized crime. And so it seems like a pretty obvious quid pro quo that if the mega churches are on this serious campaign about opposing abortion and opposing something as logical as mifepristone, that they want their income stream back. They want that extortion money. They want that the lording over.
It's not just the religious aspect of it. It has more to do with the business aspect of it. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for listening to us. And let's go back to Maria for the Breaking the Echo Chamber today. And then we got our person of the week joining us at about 9:45, 9:50 today. We're also encouraging people, folks, if you're listening, if you want to make a community announcement on the show, feel free to reach out to us. And Dr. Sheila White will be taking on additional responsibilities of just going ahead and coordinating the community announcements also. We can spend about 4 to 5 minutes on that. Good morning, Maria. Thank you so much for patiently waiting.
Oh, no, I have no problem waiting because I really like to give the opportunity for people that take the time to call to have their moment to speak.
And it's amazing. We have got a national audience of people listening all over the country now.
Right.
One thing that I would say to start off with breaking the echo chamber would be to take the point of individuals calling you and telling you who should be on the show and who should not be on the show. And the point of the show is to be able to provide nuance and listen to where people are at, including elected officials. So you're not going to make an informed decision once we start censoring people or censoring elected officials, then what makes their policy platforms, and how are you going to challenge them, by the way?
Yep.
If you have an issue with someone like Rachel Ventura, how are you going to challenge her? Challenge her on air, support her on air, but you can do both once you give the ability for someone to speak and have a back and forth. So I think that's very important. Going back to the international community, which Congresswoman Marie was speaking about, what are our allies going to think of us? What does the world think of us right now? Well, right now we have 3 different things that we see on the global stage. Number one, that Iran, there's a 30-day, I think, deadline. There's a 30-day deadline to go ahead and accept this agreement to have a ceasefire. It does not look like Iran is moving towards any direction. In fact, I think we are losing leverage from everything that I have read. They're buckling down quite a bit. And the question is going to be, which we talked about last time, is do we have the ability and the key people and the right people in the room to be able to negotiate this? We have experts that, like I had said last time, probably are experts in game theory. And so do we have what it takes? And I think that that's more of a concern for our allies is do these people that are being sent as representatives of the administration, are they qualified to make these deals? I heard something very interesting this morning is that Trump, let's not forget his romance with TV, his reality television and The Apprentice. And so what we're seeing, something that I heard this morning is we're seeing J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio play their role and see if they're going to get picked, right? So they're being used in different situations that they're not qualified for, quite honestly. And are they going to be able to negotiate these very tricky international conflicts and representing our nation? Or is this just a opportunity for both of them to see if they're going to get picked next? So that's something to keep in mind. We're looking at personal, professional agendas over how to handle international conflicts and sending the right people in. The other thing is that we have a meeting coming up with China, and how is that going to go, right? China is a huge issue with the fact this war is happening at all because of the oil that is directly accessible from Iran. So is China going to come to the table and meet to understand what role it's going to play, or make it very clear to the United States that it's made its claim that it's going to ally with Iran? So these types of things require really key negotiators, and I hope that we send the right people in the room with the top people in the administration, because I do not believe the top people in the administration are the key people that we need. As far as domestic policy, because of the war, we see oil, gas prices, and right now, very clearly, just like Mohammed said, the Republicans have a plan. They're responding. They are 100% responding to the local issues, right? So now they're thinking of suspending the federal tax for gas because they're understanding what this is actually meaning for people on the ground, everyday Americans. And so domestic policy, what's happening is we can have these statements about headlines on what the administration is doing on the international stage to Americans. But at the end of the day, the Republicans are working very hard to bring it back to two critical things that the Democrats need to understand. One is economy, right? One is economy. And then the second is home ownership. And this is what's, construction is being seen at its best. So now this is becoming a major policy issue, is home ownership. It's actually moved ahead of healthcare because the argument on the Republican side of how they've handled healthcare is not compelling and it's not persuasive. So now we're coming back to, can you buy gas and can you build homes, right? And not thinking about the fact that majority of people can't afford either. And so, and the reason we can't afford either is because now the administration is pushing for another $70 billion to be given for immigration enforcement and to be given to Customs Patrol. This is the same pocket of money that does not have the funds to put a camera on the ICE agents, right? So I just want to make that very, very clear. So we can't, you're putting the two issues on the domestic policy on the front, home ownership and gas prices, but you're not talking about the fact that we have those issues because we started this war. And in addition to that, that we don't have the ability, we have decided that we don't have the ability to provide money for healthcare and these two other issues in the economy because we want to give over 70 billion additional dollars to immigration enforcement, right? And so I think that this is a very smart game of trying to distract people from international headlines, sending in people that are not really key stakeholders that are adept to negotiate us out of these conflicts. And at the same time, identify major domestic policy issues, but hide the ball on the fact that we're taking all that money away for immigration and enforcement. Because the easy issue to galvanize voters, the easy issue here is to otherize a population. That's what it is, right? Give international headlines to say that you're saving the world and you're saving the United States from a nuclear war, and then otherize a population so you can halt demographic change and make people feel vigilant that they're doing something about protecting their country from the other population that has been created to be the enemy, such as individuals that are undocumented. So I think the Democrats need to keep an eye on how we're doing the incredible strategy of being distracted by this. And the fact that even if they identify the two major policies domestically, they're not talking about their two domestic policy issues created by the same administration. So we have to keep coming back to that. The other thing I wanted to talk about is this issue on abortion, because I think, working with a lot of different faith communities, being a faith person myself, and looking at where people sit on this issue, I think it's very, very easy for us to identify it as a faith issue. And I don't think people that know policy identify it as that, but I know individuals that want people to support it will try to galvanize the faith argument. And I think the way that we can talk about this is to really create a different type of language And that is that this issue is actually not about abortion. This issue is, again, which we've seen for years, is that forget about not just having autonomy over your body and agency over your body, but the woman's life itself, right? The woman's life is not valuable.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have to identify here. This is what I want to break the echo chamber on this. And Congresswoman Marie started to state this very clearly, that the issues with miscarriage and bleeding out, for individuals who are understanding this, they are seeing that the people that are restricting this pill are seeing women's lives as a footnote. I just want to go back to say that there would be no men without women on this earth, you know? So that's
Hey,
biologically true. Yeah.
Maria, the word woman has the word men in it, so let's not forget that part.
The women have the word men in it. Yeah. I mean, this is biologically true. This is
I know,
biologically
I
true.
know.
So putting women as a footnote, you know, and say, oh, no one's going to really worry about it, and just let's talk about just abortion. This issue, I think it's a very easy way to distract the reality that women are placed lower than men in healthcare. They have been for years. And this is why it's okay if they bleed out, you know, and it's not a big deal. But I think we have to bunker down on this, that if every life matters, and there's a political narrative that people that are pro-life, they have to be the pro-life of women's lives. And that's what I think the politicization of this issue has resulted in, is to make it just about abortion. And it's much deeper than that, actually.
Absolutely.
Much deeper than that. And I think women should take it upon themselves to talk about that you're actually okay if we die.
Yeah, and
You're
it's
actually okay.
it's not just women. It's all of us should be supporting this and taking it on. And speaking of that, we got our person of the week who has joined us, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Good morning. We went a little bit over this morning with a couple of topics because it was so important. I'd like to bring Dr. Sheila White back into the conversation to introduce our guest. Sheila, good morning.
Good morning, Chicago, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Our special person of the week is Rebecca Laudermich, and she is a mechanical engineer that graduated from Olivet Nazarene University. She works with Sunset Solutions, a non-for-profit organization whose goal is to help remove barriers through technology. So she's another young person out there making a difference in the world. Sunset, they partner with organizations around the world to meet technological needs like electrical power solutions, radio broadcasting, providing equipment and technical support, and clean water solutions that track pump usage and maintenance needs. And so I'd like to welcome Rebecca. Rebecca, there's so many great things that are happening with Sunset. Tell us a little bit about some of the things you all are doing in Ukraine during this difficult time, because there's a lot of technological things that you all are doing as boots on the ground. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so with Ukraine, one of the ministry organizations that we partner with is called Slavic Gospel Association, and they're working with pastors and churches in Ukraine to provide them support and support during the war going on. So in 2023, our Power Solutions team sent 40 solar ministry toolkits to pastors and churches in Ukraine through this partner organization. And these devices use a solar panel and a battery to power a system of things like lights, cell phone chargers, speakers, microphones, projectors, and I'll have like audio Bible available in a local language. So during a time when electricity is unreliable or unavailable because of the war, churches in Ukraine have been able to use these tools to continue meeting, and this helps to strengthen the believers there and reach others who are hurting in the midst of this chaotic time with the war going on. Because people are able to come to these church meetings that will have like light and shelter where they can also charge their phone, but ultimately receive the love and good news of the gospel. This is like one way the Lord is using this piece of technology to help equip pastors and churches in Ukraine to do what He's called them to do during this difficult time for them.
And Rebecca, you talked a little bit earlier. We talked about some of the things that were going on with the radio broadcast teams that were helping set up radio stations in Uganda. And there was a certain individual over there that had a crisis. And because of the radio broadcasting system that Sunset set up, tell us a little bit about that story, what happened as a result of the radio broadcast technologies that you set up in Uganda.
Okay. One thing that Sunset has in the area of radio is they produce and hand out handheld solar-powered radios, which are preset to local stations that are gospel broadcasting. So they did this in Ukraine several years ago. I'm sorry, not Ukraine, Uganda several years ago. And at one point, they had a pastor on the air on that station who felt God put it on his heart to speak about the value of life and the preciousness of each soul before God. And specifically, he said he felt there was someone listening about to commit suicide. And there was a woman listening named Agnes who heard him through a handheld radio that she had. And instead of committing suicide, she dropped what she was doing and felt like God saw her in her pain. And after explaining things to her husband, they went to find the radio station together, where they both heard the gospel and were saved. And then they started sharing the gospel with those around them as well. So in this case, it was just a cool story. That's probably my favorite story of God using this piece of technology to reach someone who wasn't being reached through conventional methods, which is something we hear a lot from our partners, that how God is using these technologies to open doors for the gospel.
And it's so interesting because when we talk a little bit, we know that you all work with clean water solutions. A lot of people don't understand the design, the testing, the building of water monitors. Can you just explain in the next few minutes a little bit about that process? Because there are a lot of people that don't have clean water, and with the war going on and all of these things, it's a situation. So could you give us just a minute explaining, if you can, a little bit about these water systems that are so important? Water is vital to life. And so explain to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. A lot of like hand pumps that are in remote locations in like Africa, for example, they will break down within less than a year of first being installed there. So this creates an issue when the people, the community are relying on that water source and then it breaks down and they have nothing more to rely on, or they have to go back to getting water from other sources, which are probably not as clean. And there's data that about half the people in a community will get sick within a week of a pump breaking down. So it's creates a big problem for the people and the ministries trying to reach them. So one thing that Sunset has done is developed a series of monitors that'll sense data on the pump and like the handle motion or the flow of the water, and send this data through the internet to the ministry, so then they're able to know when the pump is broken down, or even before it breaks, when it might need maintenance, so they're able to keep that clean water up and running for the people in the community there, and be able to better reach them with the gospel through the provision of that practical need that we all have.
And, Rebecca, there are people listening all over the world. Can you help us to know how to help it with Sunset Solutions? It's a non-for-profit organization. How can people donate? How can people get involved to help these technological resources that are so much needed in places like Ukraine, Uganda, all over the world, with these technological needs that are out there?
The easiest way to donate would be to go to their website, and then you can donate to specific projects there, or specific ministry workers. And besides that, another way that always helps is just spreading the word about what we're doing and building connections that way.
So
Awesome,
Rebecca,
awesome.
what is the website?
It's sunsetsolutions.org. It's spelled SONSET.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, folks. It's 9:55. We've got about 5 minutes to finish off the show today. And we have had some excellent input from our listeners from across the country as to what is happening and why we need to take back ownership of our actions. And especially for our leadership, we got to get our act together, folks. There's no two words about it. And if someone have an issue with what we talk about today, feel free to call in. It is your show also. And the number to call in always is 773-763-9278. Or the new number is 773-774-8585. I'm sure Mike has memorized that number by now. And if you have any community announcements that you would like to make, please do send them out to Dr. Sheila White, and I will have her information on our website that you can go to and reach out to Sheila, or you can send an email out directly to the producers. So you can send it out to TLS Producer for the Lightning Strike Producer, TLS Producer at gmail.com. And we will get to your community announcements on the air about 5 minutes every show. We want to dedicate to community announcements going forward. We also have the District Watch segment that we started today with our first guest, Nick Unaniejewski, who was running for Senate in the 6th District or the 7th District, Marie. What was Nick running in?
Illinois State Senate District 6, which is basically Lakeview in the city, the area around Wrigleyville, and all the way north up to Rogers Park.
And Nick did bring in some very important issues that are locally at the grassroots level that he has learned by just knocking on doors. I mean, his campaign knocked on 80,000 doors, folks.
Yeah. Mohammed, can I, because I do, and I think Rebecca shared a lot of information, and I did want to take a moment to address her as well. So, Rebecca, thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you so much for sharing what you do. One thing I wanted to share with you, because you brought up God quite a few times, you brought up gospel quite a few times, and you brought up technology and the use of technology. And, you know, this show is a show where we're talking about politics and we're talking about domestic and federal issues and and elections and legislative consulting and all of this stuff as we went through today. And I just wanted to say, you making your presentation and speaking about gospel and God and your mission to use technology to reach people. I just want to say that for many people listening, it seems like it's a misfit in the conversation. And I just want to say that you encouraging and including what your truth is about your faith and how you're using technology gives the ability to so many voters out there that belong to different faith-based communities and don't know how to talk or enter the realm of civic issues, right? And so I just want to thank you for doing that, unapologetically sharing that, because we have a beautiful, beautiful understanding of the U.S. Constitution and the separation of church and state, for the ability for all different faith groups to be able to talk freely and speak about how we impact the different communities. So for anyone that's thinking it is a misfit or may have thought that way, because I think there could be, I just want to say that there's a space for these types of faith discussions, and any faith community that brings positive impact to constituents, we want to engage and learn about. So thank you, Rebecca.
Well, thank you so much. Excuse me, my throat is going out again at the end of the show. It always does. And it's about 10 o'clock, folks. We'll be winding off the show for today. And please do tune in next week. Same place, same time, WCPT 8:20 a.m. And go to our website, tlsradio.com. We are not a nonprofit. We are a for loss at this point. Okay. But do go ahead and support the show by making, by becoming a subscriber. And we'll look forward to hearing from you and talking to you next week. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.